I'm sure somebody is up with me Eastern Standard Time, and I know that I have some good friends all around the world, but I could not rest my eyes without coming on and doing this live today. I was determined. So I want to go ahead and share it on my personal page, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. While I'm doing this, I am Dr. Angela Shuttlesworth, CEO and founder of Be.Lead.Grow.com, and I am excited to help leaders increase their profit, performance, and power. And we do that by removing barriers so you can thrive. And as most of you know already, my goal is to help leaders accomplish their big goal. When I'm talking about doing it big, you hear me all the time, like, big things popping over here at Be.Lead.Grow. When I say big, it's not just big as in the amount, but I'm talking about a very particular thing when you are able to cross that bridge to your irrefutable greatness. Oftentimes we have that one thing that we need to accomplish that helps to propel us to the next area of our life. So for me, it was moving overseas. It was getting my voice out there, and my not only just my voice, but my genius. And I always say my genius will make room for me. So for me, it was saying, okay, I have developed this model. I believe that it's important. And from that, I was able to be published in an international magazine, to speak at an international conference, and develop a business that allows me to touch the hearts and minds of leaders around the globe. And I'm crazy excited. So last week I was talking to you all about how I am not excited when people say, oh, I'm living vicariously through you. And I'm like, don't, create a life that's for you. And I showed many of you all how to use the planner that I use. And so from that, everybody said, oh, tell me about that planner. And I let everybody know I use the iBloom planner. But from that also was the question around, how do I accomplish goals? And so I said, oh, you know what? Let me go ahead and give a little bit of insight into that as well. Because anybody who's attached to me, I know you have to be a go-getter. The name of my business is Be.Lead.Grow, right? So anything that ain't growing is dead. So we know what growth is: innovation and creativity. I'm talking about leadership, but not just your traditional leadership, because for me, leadership begins with self. So I'm talking about high power leaders who are willing to do the work, to work on their internal being so that they can show up and show out in all areas of their lives. And that also comes into our being, making sure that we're able to be our best selves at all times. So let's dive right in. So the way that I do goals is very similar to and excuse me if I'm saying it, mispronouncing it, but the Pomodoro process. Now I learned it, we call the term sprints. But as you know, and just to give you, it's very similar to, as they call it, time boxing, if you've ever heard that before. But for me, it's a very productivity skill where it says it uses time to break down work into intervals. So generally, if you're using the formal process, they do 25-minute increments. But you can do it from anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour or whatever. And I actually prefer to do sprints with somebody because I just like accountability. But when I'm doing it with myself, it works as well. So the first thing that you do is for me, I like to set an intention or to speak an affirmation over what I'm doing. Sometimes I even will do a visualization and something that'll get me in the energy to make sure that I have the right intention for that activity, right? So I begin with the end in mind. I see myself accomplishing that goal. I tie my energy to what that goal is going to accomplish, what it's going to bring to me, and why I'm doing it in the first place. And not only just why am I doing it for me, but I also attach who I'm doing it for. So like I said before, I'm taping this Eastern Standard Time. It's early in the morning. Most people are asleep. But as you all know, I'm transitioning back from living in Thailand and Abu Dhabi. So my time clock is very different. But I'm not going to say, oh, it's late at night, I'll do it later. My thing was, no, this is going to be something that people can wake up in the morning and be motivated to, right? So you begin with the end in mind, have some positive words to get you through to the end and remembering your why, right? And that's normally done through, as I said, an affirmation or a visualization. The next thing you want to do is set your goal. So for me, I gave you an example. I showed you my planner. So at the top, I have the things that I plan to do, and then I break it down in time slots, right? And so I'll set up where it says my appointments. And so after I've set that goal and I've broken it down into different places, right? Because as I said, it's bite-sized pieces for that specific time period. I'll set that goal, and one, I'll create the space for success. So for me, that means turning off Facebook, turning off my ringer, because I'm easily distracted. And it also includes sometimes having some water nearby, a cup of ice, or, something that I can snack on. Because the thing is, you don't want to, well, for me, I'll speak for myself. I'm easily distracted sometimes. So I want to get up and have to go to the bathroom or go get something to eat. Whereas you could have done all of that beforehand so that you can make sure that you're able to be fully present and able to accomplish your goal. So create the space for success. And only you know what that is for you, right? So you want to do that. And then as you accomplish the thing is, once that timer hits, you want to respect the time. So you want to honor the time that you've set. If you say that you're going to do it in 45-minute increments, then do 45 minutes. If you say you're going to do 25 minutes, then do 25 minutes. But work through that full time. And then after the timer sets, then stop. And the difference between a lot of people will say, oh, well, I'm just going to keep on going and I'll figure it out as I go. And for me, it's like, no, let's figure out what happened. And the reason being is because while I'm doing that, while I'm accomplishing my goal, I'm also doing some other things as well. And what I choose to do is to answer these questions. I'm writing down what my barriers are. And so for me, it may be if I actually did stop to check text messages, if I stopped and looked at a call, if there was something that I felt I just had to do, I write down barriers as they come. And then you also identify your accomplishments. So you want to celebrate. Y'all, as you all know, I celebrate and grieve everything. So it can be the smallest thing that I've accomplished, but you want to identify what you've gotten done in those 45 minutes. And then the big thing that you want to do is identify lessons learned. And for me, that is sometimes realizing, because I will set these lofty goals and then realize that, oh my goodness, I can't really accomplish that in that time period. And the reason that's important is because as I project for the future and for the next set of goals and the next set of things that I want to accomplish, I want to make sure that I am thinking of that as I plan out my schedule, right? So as a consultant and working with other businesses and other leaders, I want to be very mindful of my time. So if I say, okay, I can, develop you some content and I can do X, Y, and Z for this price, I need to be familiar with how long it's really going to take me and not just, I can just throw something together. One of my big things I used to do as a manager and as a director, and my staff hated it, is I'd be like, oh, that should take 5 minutes. That was my line. No matter if it took 5 days, in my mind, it was, oh, it should just take you 5 minutes, meaning you should be able to do it and figure it out real quick. But sometimes we dismiss the steps and the processes that it takes to get things done. And not just to get it done, but to get it done well. Now, I wish I could see who's on here. I see your eyes. Write in the comments and tell me who's here, because it is not, I see the numbers up there, but I'm not seeing anybody. And as always, feel free to share. I'm trying to see who you all are. I'm seeing some dings coming through as we are talking about how to accomplish our goals. Alrighty. So we are, hey, Maria. How you doing, love? And so we're talking about accomplishing our goals, and I'm talking about how to learn the lessons after you've gone through this process. If you're familiar with the Pomodoro process, I do a kind of abbreviated version of that. And so I was just talking about how to get your lessons learned, and particularly as an entrepreneur and a leader, when we're setting future goals, we want to incorporate the lessons that we've learned. So if I think it's going to only take me 30 minutes to do something, and then I realize, technology messes me up. Oh my goodness, y'all. I had a deliverable that was due the day that the Amazon server went down, and I use Canva for everything. I love their pictures. They're vibrant, the colors, it's easy to use platform. And so when the day I was supposed to have something out, I kind of waited to the last minute to save it, went back to make some extra changes, and then the server went down. And so I couldn't get my deliverable out. And anybody who knows me or has worked with me, I do not play about time. It just is a big thing to me. Sometimes I don't give myself the grace that I deserve. And I have very high expectations of myself and other professionals. But in that, it made me realize that, no, we need to make sure that we have this stuff. I've accommodated for things like when the system goes down, or just realizing how heavily I rely on certain systems, or when I think, oh, I can just update my page or just update a PayPal link or something like that, realizing how long it actually takes. So then when I'm able to say, okay, I'm developing a draft or a contract for a new client, I actually really know how much it takes. So the more you're consistently doing different tasks, you know what it is and what you can really accomplish. And so one of my favorite quotes is that clarity comes through action. So the more we're consistently doing the things that, you know, that are in our genius zone, you get to know more about it. The more clear you are comes from continuing to do the work. So we said we're going to identify barriers, identify accomplishments, identify the lessons learned. And the things you want to do is, again, ask yourself, is there something that takes longer than expected? You want to write that down. And then you want to adjust your timeline for your next goal. So if you know that, okay, I thought I was going to be able to accomplish all of this. Okay, let me be realistic with my next set of goals that I have. And then take a break. So after you've done that goal, the objective is for you to then do those things to minimize distractions. So take a break so that you can accomplish your next goal. And oftentimes we're just so busy and wanting to handle everything, right? Coming back to back to back to back to back. And it's like, no, you need to take it in, be present with the work that you're doing so that you're able to bring your full self. So if you got to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom. You know, sometimes we're like, I just hold it. I got to finish what I'm doing. And, you know, all of those kind of good things. And it's like, no, do what you got to do. And then after that, you set a new goal. And the thing about it is you want to set the goal that is the highest level of excellence that you can. You get what I'm saying? Because we know E in healthy, and the healthy acronym, if you're familiar with that, is to establish excellence as your norm. So even down to the goals that you're setting, you want to make sure that it is something that pushes you and propels you to where you want to be. So again, let's go back over that. So first thing you want to do, set your goal. Second thing is to create the space for success. That is so huge. What do you need to succeed? And the more you continue to do this, the easier it'll be for you to answer that. And honor the time that you set. So if you set 25 minutes or 45 minutes, whatever that specific time is that you want to do to accomplish that goal, make sure you do it. And after you finish, you want to pay attention to the barriers that happened, the accomplishments, and then the lessons learned. And as always, as I said, think about, is there something that now you know takes longer than expected? And then you want to adjust your timeline for the new information. Take a break and then set a new goal. And the biggest thing is, as you're setting that new goal, is to come from also a belief that you can make it happen. And the more you listen to your voice and you tell yourself that you're going to accomplish it, then it's going to happen, right? And so I wanted to share with you two more things, and I want to show you an example of the timer that I use. So this is it's called the tomato-timer.com. And as you see, here's the timer. So when you're starting this one is set up for 25 minutes. So you just hit start and it'll go ahead and do your time. And when you're ready to stop it, it'll either give you an alarm or you can hit stop. And if you're taking a short break, it's already set up for you. Or if you're doing, so you see it does 5 minutes. And if you're doing a long break, it'll go to 10 minutes. So, and if you do just a general Pomodoro, like I said, it'll automatically do 25 minutes. And there's numerous of different calendars, and not calendars, but different settings and different tools that you can use to support you. And then also what I wanted to tell you is that if you are ready to, as I said, discover your voice and to use your voice from a place of making sure that you can accomplish what you want. I love the voice from Verizon where he says, "Can you hear me now?" The biggest thing is, can you hear you? Can you hear you now? Sometimes we're in a space where we're like, oh, I just want to be heard. I want people to see the work that I'm doing. I want people to understand what it takes to get the things done. And oftentimes that's because we aren't really understanding our own voice in order for others to understand our voice as well, right? So I always say leadership begins with self. So the question becomes, how much time are you spending with you? So even if you're doing something as simple as coming up with how do you accomplish goals, sometimes people even lie to themselves about that. Remember I said, thinking you can do all of this stuff and then like, oh, well, that really wasn't a barrier. No, the more honest you are with yourself, the more you can accomplish. And similarly, in the same way, the more you're familiar with your voice, the more you get to hear your voice. And sometimes people are like, oh, I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself think. Have you all ever thought about that? Have you ever heard yourself saying something like that? Or there's just so much going on, I can't hear my voice. So one of the things that I've done to help you with that, and when we talk about removing the barriers so you can thrive, is to develop the Discover Your Power by Rediscovering or Discovering Your Voice Masterclass. And so you can get that by going to Be.Lead.Grow.com/discover my power, because that is the goal, to help you to discover your power and to walk in your highest self by helping you to discover your voice. As you all know, if you follow me before, you know that I define power as your voice and your choice. So it's the way that you hear your voice, the way that you use your voice, and it's all the way that you make choices and the decisions that you make, and ultimately combine. That is where you are at your most powerful self. So again, if you're ready for the masterclass, jump on in. There is a early bird special pricing that's on there now. And so that's Be.Lead.Grow /discover my power. And if you're not ready for the masterclass, that's fine too. There's a freebie and a good way for us to still stay connected. And that you can get from just going to www.Be.Lead.Grow.com. And it's going to say who's ready for change. And the question is, I am or we are. So if it's for you and you're ready to take your individual leadership, your entrepreneurship to the next level, then you'll click on the I am button. If you know that you're speaking on behalf of your organization, then you'll click on the we are button, because there's going to take you down two different paths, because I work with both individuals and organizations. So I hope that this has been helpful for you. If it has, please share it. Please comment. I'll come back on here tomorrow and respond to all messages. If you have any questions, always feel free to inbox me, as I'm always excited to hear about how these things have been helpful. I've been hearing a lot of good things from you all. And so as always, just as I did this one, if there's something you want to hear me talk about, feel free to inbox me and tell me, hey, how are you doing this? How are you doing that? And I'll be sure to come on and help you out, because at the end of the day, I want us all to win. So love and hugs. And Dr. Angela Shuttlesworth, again, of Be.Lead.Grow.com. I hope to connect with you all soon. Take care.